Good afternoon, all our listeners out there. This is Ɔdadeɛ Radio bringing you education standpoint again. And we are happy that you have tuned in to us this afternoon. And we are here again to discuss issues that border on our health, that border on where we are going to with our generations that are behind us. What are we doing to lay grounds for them to get into the places so that they can also take the places, their future in the places where we create space here and there for them. We say good afternoon to you, all of you, wherever you are. And this afternoon, we have as our topic to discuss HIV/AIDS. And the interesting part of it has to do with the subheadings. Where are we going? How far have we gone in the war against this menace? And what do we have in it so far as our future generation and young adults are concerned? These are our main areas. And so parents, teachers, guardians, students, wherever you are listening to us, and fellow Ɔdadeɛs also, wherever you are, you remember that we are dealing with these issues so that we'll know what to do with our future generation. Good afternoon again, and this is your regular host, Reverend Emmanuel Ambrose Asamoah, here in your Ɔdadeɛ Radio studios. This afternoon, I have asked my resource person, Dr. Stephen Aisi Ado, who is the manager of the National AIDS and STI Control Program, Ghana Health Service Ministry of Health. And he belongs to the Ɔdadeɛ class of 1989. He was in Clark House, a very noisy house that was popular in those days. And then, of course, he is formerly a sinner, now saved by grace. Yes. Ɔdadeɛ, Dr. Stephen was also with us, very close to me in his days, and we did a lot of things together, especially concerning work in the classroom because he was my art student, and then work outside the classroom working on the field of souls for God, saving souls and building up souls for God. So this afternoon we say welcome to you, Ɔdadeɛ Stephen Aisi Ado.
Thank you very much, Reverend Emmanuel Ambrose Asamoah, my teacher and my spiritual father. And a good afternoon to all our audience, the fellow Ɔdadeɛs and our listeners. It's good to be back. I'm excited, and it's been many years. So
yes.
Excited to be sitting here with you.
That's great.
This time not drawing something, but we'll see how we will draw today's topic.
We'll definitely create pictures.
Thank you so much for having me. And this is a great contribution to the national efforts and response to HIV. So on behalf of the Director General of the Ghana Health Service and the Minister for Health, I want to bring you regards from the service and to thank you for the opportunity to add to the advocacy against HIV.
Thank you very, very much. We also bring you hearty responses from our Ɔdadeɛ President, Global President, Dr. Ofori Sapon, and his team of executive members, and all of us who have been here before or who were here some. Yes, we say thank you very, very much. And we thank you for coming as well. Yes. Now to our topic. This thing has been around, this thing called HIV/AIDS. It used to come around with no identity, and we realized that there was no way of seeing where it began from and where it started, and then where it was going. But all we realized was the effect it was having on the life of mankind all over the place, and Ghana not left out. And these things we hear affect little children, they affect young adults, they affect old adults, and they affect everybody. This afternoon we are interested in the events of this issue of HIV/AIDS. I don't know if you were to tell us where it came from, where we have found, whether we have found its source now, and where we are going with it, and then how it's going to have an impact on the future generation as we talk about the current youthful growing generations in our schools and then outside our schools. So this is what brings us to discuss the issue of HIV/AIDS. First of all, let me ask the question, what is this?
All right, so thank you very much. This question is very important because depending on how you see it and the myths associated with the people will react. So whether it was manufactured or whether it just appeared or whatever is very important. What we know is that it's a zoonosis. In other words, it first occurred, it was identified in simian monkeys. These are animals.
I see.
And then maybe through interaction with human beings, it got into human beings. But it was actually discovered in the early 80s. In Ghana, the first case was detected in 1986. And since then, we have now, as we speak, as at the end of December 2021, 350,000 approximately living with HIV in Ghana.
Wow.
HIV is a germ. It's a virus, human immunodeficiency virus. And the way it works compared to other viruses is that once it gets into you, it attacks your defense mechanism, your defense system. Your defense system is supposed to defend you against every attack, infections, different types of infections. But the way this virus acts is that it would rather attack your soldiers that defend you.
Okay.
And therefore, once it destabilizes you and destroys your soldiers, we call these white cells in your body, lymphocyte cells. And once it destroys your white cells, your ability to defend yourself against even other simple infections is gone. And so your immunity is compromised. That is why it's human immunodeficiency virus.
That's right.
So it renders your immunity deficient, incapable, weak. And that is the virus. There are different types of virus, RNA, DNA. Those are details. This is an RNA virus. And it multiplies in the human being. It doesn't multiply in any other. It multiplies in the human being. Animal studies, you can culture it, but primarily in human beings. And once, because it needs certain elements in the human being to multiply.
I see. Let me ask this, interjecting your explanation. Does it mean that if it works, if it grows in human beings, does it mean that it has left the monkey culture?
Yes,
where it started from?
So that's why I said that it's possible we can culture it in animals. It can be found because the monkeys and the the monkeys and chimpanzees and all that, they are very close to human beings. So they have a kind of structure which is similar to us. So that is why it's possible for you to be able to also find it in them. But like all other infections we started in animals that come to humans, it gets established in the human cells, and then we can say that it is human. So now it multiplies within the human population.
I see. That's interesting.
Yeah. So when your immunity is compromised, then you are at risk of every other infection, which under normal circumstances you should have defended yourself against. And so now you develop the acquired immune deficiency syndrome. So this is a collection of signs and symptoms, and that is the disease stage. So once your immunity is compromised, then now you progress to the disease stage, and that's what is called the AIDS. We try to separate the two because getting the virus doesn't mean you have AIDS. It is when it has fought your body and overcome your body's immunity that now you crumple and then you get the AIDS. And this can happen over an average period of 7 years.
7 years?
Yes, up to 15 years if there's no intervention. For children, 5 years or as early as 2 years.
Wow. I see. That's interesting. That's very interesting. So it means that the initial stages are such that the viruses enter your body, and then they go and hide in places, and then they begin to expand and grow and find out ways of hitting other targets in their body.
Yeah, so it gets into your white cells where it multiplies, and then in the process of multiplication, it destroys the white cells.
Oh, okay.
So it is when your white cells are depleted, then now you are prone to other infections.
Okay.
So it's the infections that come in that go and destroy the other
All
part. So
right
you
then.
develop tuberculosis easily.
Okay.
You can develop a simple rash.
Okay.
You can have an abdominal problem, your gastroenteritis, any organ in your body, your brain
Can be affected.
by even pneumonia from other bacteria and other infections. And those are referred to as opportunistic infections. That is what will kill you.
That is okay.
Yes, because then you have a diarrhea and you are running and it's not stopping and you get dehydrated and then you die. You have meningitis and it affects your, everything. So that's the effect.
So basically, it acts like slow poison, hitting the major portions of your body and weakening you, opening up for other diseases to come in. And then that is where you are hit very, very hard. Well, listeners out there, you are listening to Ɔdadeɛ Radio on Zeno FM app, and you can get your Zeno FM by downloading it from our Google Play Store or the App Store. And we say that we are live and streaming on Ɔdadeɛ Radio and also Ɔdadeɛ Radio Ghana. Wherever you are, we want to shine the lights, as we say in Ɔdadeɛ Radio. And we also have our studio lines that you can call in and with your questions. And the studio line is 0302 9292945. Yeah, thank you very, very much. We also have a WhatsApp line where you can also send in your questions, and very soon we'll give you our WhatsApp lines where they are. And meanwhile, we have in our studio our experts on this matter that we are discussing, HIV/AIDS. We know that there has been a lot of talk over this thing for more than 20 years in our country, at least, all over our airwaves. 36 years plus. Wow. Yeah, it's been long. But we have a generation now that doesn't know too much. We don't know how far they have learned about this issue. I'm sure they have heard the names, but looking at our lifestyle, sometimes we realize that it is important for us to go back and pick up some things so that we refresh our educational memories over them. And that is why we are doing this exercise this afternoon. Yes. So my next question, how far has it gone? And what amount of damage has it done to mankind in general? And then looking at our small country as well.
Okay, so like the Wuhan virus, which dawned in 2019 or so.
Okay.
This also started somewhere, as I said, and we found the first case in 1986. But I want to establish this because we've been talking about how it appears in the human body.
Okay.
You only contract it through sex, unprotected sex, 80% of the case.
Okay.
And then also from a mother who is infected can give it to a baby, mother to child transmission.
Oh, okay.
That's what we refer that to. And then also you can get it through infected blood products and then infected sharps, the remaining percentage. The greatest
when you say infected
sharps is blade.
Okay. Anything that can cut
you.
Okay.
These pedicure things and all that. Okay. Any sharp object that cuts you, a person has it, and you use the same object on another person. So some of the routine things we do can be a mode of transmission.
Yes.
But majority is linked to sex, unprotected sex.
Oh, okay.
And when we talk about sex, there are different types of sex. Some of them are high risk. Unprotected sex with somebody whose status you don't know is high risk. And then this is a sex between a male and a female. but there is also sex between men and men.
And men.
So men who have sex with men, the risk is higher.
That's our biggest menace now.
Our biggest, yes, and the multiple sexual encounters. So people who trade like female sex workers, higher prevalence. So if you take the general population, if you take 100 people, 2 people average, it's 1.7%. For everybody. This includes everybody.
Everybody.
Yes, but if you take pregnant women, it's 2%, which means that there's a factor there. If you are pregnant, it means you had unprotected sex.
That's true.
So the risk is a little higher.
Wow.
And when you take female sex workers, it's 4.6%. So almost 5 out of 100 is increasing. Then when you take people who have an existing sexually transmitted infection like gonorrhea or syphilis or anything, 12% of them have it because it predisposes them to HIV. Then for men who have sex with men, 18%.
18%.
Yes, because there are some risk factors associated with that.
Men and boys.
Yes, so
listen to us well. 18%.
18%, yes.
Are at risk or infected.
That's 18% in the last survey. 18%.
Wow, I see.
And we notice that therefore that there's a biological factor. There are biological factors. There are social factors.
That's right.
Cultural factors responsible for the spread. It's all linked to behavior also. So if you take the gender, male and females, you see that females are at higher risk because of they are usually vulnerable because of their reproductive system, how it is larger surface area. If there's anything, they can get it and all that. Now, so in talking about the impact, till date, the whole world, about 80 million people have ever been affected, the whole world.
80 million?
Yes, and about 40 million of that have died.
Wow.
When you take our own country, Ghana, you can tell that, in fact, at the last count this year, from January to June, 932 people died. These are people that we know they came to the health facility and they were documented and they died. But there are many others out there who don't know their status. They also died from HIV. But they didn't know, they didn't come to the health facility. And we estimate that about 13,000 people die annually.
Wow.
It has actually had a very devastating effect on a lot of families.
It's true.
It's rendered many people orphans, children orphans. You know, it has also affected, in fact, when it started, and at the peak of it, it actually affected our work and labor force. Because majority of the people are in the working group. And once they are sick or ill, then they can't work effectively. It affects productivity.
Exactly.
So, well, compared to the Southern African countries, East Africa, the devastation is less in Ghana, but it also had an effect on us. All right. And
definitely.
And if you look at the trajectory, we've continued to increase the numbers of deaths, have occurred over time. And if you compare relatively, even with COVID, HIV has had a more devastating effect on us. So if you ask me about the impact, it's been very great.
Very, very great. If I'm looking at these figures and the kind of people that it affects, it means that it's very, very huge. The impact is very, very huge. Wow. And we've been talking about it all this time, talking about education. Is there enough education on the subject matter? We have looked at it. As I said, it has been on the waves in the past at the time that it was at this initial peak, and we couldn't identify it. We don't know what to do with it. We didn't know some of these facts that we now know. A lot of talking was done to it, but it looks like along the line there has been some break. It's not as popular as it used to be. So what about the education on the subject matter? Right,
so you are right. It's not become, new threats emerged. So like COVID-19 emerged from 2020, we were all focusing on that. But HIV didn't go away. But I think even before COVID-19, there was an issue, a shift in the funding landscape. The monies that were coming in for prevention had dropped. In fact, literally the prevention component of our national response was unfunded because our partners felt that by priority, they should invest more into treatment. Because we're now picking up numbers. All right, so that shifted, and that was not filled in locally and domestically. So for a period, we were not seeing these campaigns, in the media, the billboards and all that. But as a service, we were routinely training people. We were giving education to service providers. There were some targeted, training for civil society groups and all that. All right, but that was not as comprehensive as it was at the beginning.
I see.
And a lot of the money, if we needed to choose, we were forced to sometimes prioritize. And if you have people who are ill, you want to treat them so that they survive. All right, and that was one of our objectives. So give them the medication. So you put all the money into buying treatments and all that. And so that led to the difference. And but you see where we are now, you cannot end the epidemic without showing up the prevention component. It's happening, but on the low key, but it has to come up, because as you said, we've come through a generation. There's a generation of young people who did not benefit from that prevention education. Even the basic facts, they don't know. Some of them are risking behavior because they're not aware of the risk. For instance, we know that in Ghana, injection drug use is not high. But people who get HIV, they are 35 times higher risk compared to people who don't inject drugs. Okay, when you take the people who practice female sex, they are about 30 times, at higher risk compared to those who do not engage in sex work. When you take people who have sex with men, they are 28 times higher risk compared to those who know. Some of these data are not known easily to the current generation.
That's true.
All right, so their behavior is not influenced. They are not taking the necessary measures and all that. Even the adults who were there, who benefited, today believe that because they're not seeing the pictures of people who are emaciated, who are dying and all that, HIV is no more a threat and it's not a problem again. We have become victims of our efficiency, because through treatment, now people are well, they are looking good, they are fine. We are encouraging even people to have conjugal relationships once you're on treatment and all that. So people feel that it's no more an issue, and that complacency has contributed to the reduced campaign and education.
It's a dangerous complacency.
Very, very dangerous, because as we speak now, I told you there are 350,000 people living with HIV.
Exactly.
As we speak, there are about almost more than 100,000 people who don't know their status. They're in the population.
Just walking around.
They are spreading, yes.
And could be called Tiasuwu.
Exactly.
A number of them.
Exactly.
And a number of us.
A number of us. And for those who are even on treatment, about 260 or so, they are on treatment. There's no cure.
Wow.
So they will take it for life. And they also get tired.
Yes.
So they can withdraw.
It's true.
And by a certain time, they will be developing resistance strains. And that itself sets the stage for another epidemic.
It's true.
All right. So until we find a cure, it's still a very dangerous complacency to think that HIV is no more a reality.
And because it goes slow, sometimes we think other things like COVID are more important. So we close our minds here and then shift it all together over there. But is it not possible to let the teams that work on this work at the same time if they are getting proper funding?
Yeah, so that's what we did. I mean, with COVID-19, it even disrupted our services.
Yeah.
So we needed to develop guidelines to make sure that we mitigate the impact of COVID-19. And part of the recovery is why we are reactivating the message, and the knowledge and the education.
I see.
Clearly, COVID-19 is not even as serious as HIV. But any new thing that comes and you're not comfortable with, you want to pay attention to it.
That's true.
So we needed to pause a while and pay attention to now that we know what its length and breadth is. We have contained it to a very large extent. We have to go back to the normalcy. We have to go back to the other chronic conditions that are really affecting us, and HIV is one of them. So we have to combine the response to both COVID-19, HIV, and even new and emerging threats. For instance, TB has not gone. Tuberculosis is still around.
Yeah, it's still around.
We are still paying attention to malaria, all the others. Even the neglected tropical diseases, which were not serious. Now we have to pay attention to them.
That's true.
And we anticipate that there will be new pandemics in the future. Yes, a lot of things are changing because even environment, the temperature,
and temperature,
behavior of human beings, interaction with animals. There is a closer interaction with animals. And all that.
Yeah, it's true.
And most of these organisms may be at peace wherever they are. Once you move them to another place and different environment, they become something else, and they can spark an epidemic, an outbreak. Yeah, so the strategy is to be able to combine effectively to make sure that whilst you are dealing with new things, you are also sustaining the effort on the old and existing things.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that is a challenge, but that's the only way to go.
Interesting. Hey, this is Life and Death Matter. Wherever you are and listening to us, we are on Ɔdadeɛ Radio, and the program is Education Standpoint. We are just broadcasting our points on issues and where we stand on matters of AIDS and HIV for this particular program. And wherever you are, we are requesting that you give us your questions, and you send in also your comments if you have some comments. I know that there are people who want to do some shout outs. You can do that at the end of the second hour. But wherever you are, just send in your comments and your questions, and they'll be dealt with. Yeah. So we've been talking about AIDS, and in the studio with me is Ɔdadeɛ Dr. Stephen I.C. Ado, who was here some, and is giving us a lot of current information on the matter HIV and AIDS, and the current trends in statistics and all that. Now, we know also that the current generation, in fact, the older generation, let me say that the parents of the people who are in their teenage years and young adult years now may have heard a lot of things in those days. And because they may not have come into direct contact with people who have been emaciated by the HIV and AIDS, may have granting some complacency to the idea and thoughts that it is close to us. But the current lifestyle of our people, of our children, are such that we need to hear more, listen to it very well, and then pass the information on. And if they are hearing us themselves, it is all the best. So we are talking to the JHS students, we are talking to the primary school students, we are talking to teachers, we are talking to students in the senior secondary schools, and we are also talking to those who have finished senior secondary school in the tertiary institutions. Now we have large number of students inside there. Thanks to God for his provision of free SHS. We have more people in the tertiary institutions now. So we are hoping that everybody is listening, and if somebody is not listening, tell them to download Ɔdadeɛ Radio on Zeno FM, and they can do this on Play Store, and then they can get them on their phones and their gadgets wherever they are, and join us. While they are listening, they can bring in also their comments. Don't forget, I'm still your regular host, Reverend Emmanuel Ambrose Asamoah, and my studio kingpins are Joe, who is also known as DJ Use, and his partners out there behind the consoles. Also have around our producers, Eddie Fico, and then Johnny Adolabi, Adofenin, who are also giving us all their support from out there. Wherever you are, give us a shout, and we know that you are also out there. We want to take a short break, and we say that don't forget to send us your questions and comments, and then we'll take in some adverts, and then we'll come back.
Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Like us on Facebook at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. You can WhatsApp or call us on 0200 092925. Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Like us on Facebook at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. You can WhatsApp or call us on 0200 092925.
Agriculture plays a crucial role to our country's development with a huge contribution to Ghana's GDP whilst providing for our food needs at the same time.
They should know that agric is the backbone of every country. Honestly, you began by giving us the percentages, but it used to be 70% that the agric contributes to the economy. It's because of certain lapses that has made a figure decline.
I don't know why they see farming as a bad occupation, because in other developed countries, they take agric very seriously and they make a lot of money out of farming. They use a lot of modern technology to improve their yield, but over here we only see it as the use of certain man-made or small implements such as cutlass and hoe, which don't really do much. If you want to go into mass production, which will bring you a lot of money, you use a lot of modern technology that will help improve the yield.
Time to put the spotlight on agriculture value chain in Ghana on Agric Panorama on Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Agric Panorama is a radio program that is aimed at creating a unique platform for all farmers, traders, processors, transporters, wholesalers, and all other actors within the agric value chain. Agric experts, policymakers, students in agriculture, and other stakeholders as they participate in a panel discussion to unravel other matters to improve agriculture and agribusiness sector, which is the backbone of Ghana's economy.
It's beneficial to the country in the sense that the non-companies in this country, the products these companies bring out are from agric, or the raw products are from agric, which has been processed into finished goods.
With agric, as I was coming, I wanted to do biology, but my grandfather was the person who told me that why don't you try agriculture, because I'm a farmer and look at where I am. So you can also try agriculture and then you can see how far you go.
Starting from Saturday 1st October 2022 at 10 o'clock a.m. GMT, Agric Panorama will be broadcast live from the studios of Ɔdadeɛ Radio online every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. You can listen and contribute to this program via the Zeno FM radio app or Ɔdadeɛ Radio app from the Google Play Store or App Store. Also watch it live on YouTube or Facebook at Ɔdadeɛ Radio or Ɔdadeɛ Radio Ghana. Ɔdadeɛ Radio, shine the light.
There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love.
Say no to single-use plastic bags. They are destroying our environment. Water bodies contribute to most of the rubbish in open spaces and gutters, contributing to floods. Fish and livestock are ingesting plastics, which poses danger to our health. Plastics take ages to decompose and are harmful to the environment. Be responsible. Join eco-conscious citizens in supporting International Plastic Bag Free Day and say no to plastic bags. Use a basket, jute bag, or other biodegradable bags on 3rd July and every other day.
Did you know that 90% of people with autoimmune diseases will be misdiagnosed or spend years before a diagnosis is made? Precious time that could lead to organ damage. Autoimmune diseases occur when the immune system starts to attack healthy organs and cells in the body till they are destroyed. These conditions are more severe and are increasingly seen in people of African ancestry. The Rheumatology Initiative TRI is an NGO leading with education, advocacy, and research in autoimmune diseases. TRI ensures patients have the right peer support with a support group of over 200 people diagnosed with autoimmune conditions. The Rheumatology Initiative provides emergency medication for needy patients and teaches them life skills to ensure some financial stability. TRI reaches patients, health practitioners, and the general public through various educational interventions to enable prompt diagnosis and treatment for improved outcomes. How can you support our work at the Rheumatology Initiative? Please donate to our MTN Momo 024-192-9775. Account name is The Rheumatology Initiative. To volunteer, please send an email to volunteer@tryghana.org. That's TRIGhana.org. Visit our website tryghana.org to reach us, and on social media look for our handles at TryGhana.
Hi, this is Patricia Obonai, Global Vice President. Keep listening to Ɔdadeɛ Radio.
Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Like us on Facebook at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. You can WhatsApp or call us on 0200 092925.
Hello again. We say welcome back to the studios of Ɔdadeɛ Radio, where we are doing education standpoint. And we are inviting you to invite somebody else to download Ɔdadeɛ Radio and Ɔdadeɛ Radio Ghana on the Facebook, so that you can join us as we do this live program and live discussion on our subject matter. You can also grant us communication on Ɔdadeɛ Radio. That's on Instagram and then also on Twitter. You can send your comments through them. Then our WhatsApp lines are WhatsApp and SMS lines are 0200092925. Our studio line is also 0302551014. You can send in your text message and you can bring in your comments or your questions as you join us. And we are saying that this afternoon we are talking to, or rather he is talking to us, Ɔdadeɛ Dr. Steve Ayisi Ado, yes, who is the manager of the National AIDS and STI Control Program with Ghana Ghana Health Service and Ministry of Education. And we know that these organizations also talk about general health. We talk more about the health of our educational people and stakeholders. So we are talking to our parents, the parents of our students in schools. We are talking to our students. We are talking to old boys wherever we are. We are talking to young adults wherever we are. And this afternoon, we have opened the discussion up, and we want to look now at the behavior patterns of our younger generation of late. We have strange behaviors. And so Dr. Ayisi Ado is going to give us some of the things that the youth are doing today. Having worked with the youth for over 40 years, I know that they have been dynamic. I mean, the choices of the youth and their behavior have been very, very dynamic. Over the years, they keep changing from one generation to another. Now we want to hear Dr. Ado.
Right, thank you, Reverend Emmanuel Ambrose Asamoah. Thank you. You know, the youth, some people say there's nothing new under the sun, but they've evolved in behavior. But first of all, I want to put this in context. I mentioned earlier that there were different factors responsible for transmission, biological factors, and then we have social factors and cultural factors, you know, and all that, economic factors. And these factors may work independently alone or together with each other. So you may have biology linking up with social. So for instance, I said that females are at higher risk compared to males. All right. So when you take HIV vulnerability, females are at higher vulnerability. These are the reasons. When you take the female reproductive tract, if there is any contact with the male organ, and there's a deposit of semen in the female vagina, and it has virus, the female reproductive tract is like a receptacle which stores things. So to store the fluid for a period, whereas the man would have come out, it is storing this substance. And if the virus is there and it gets the opportunity, it will just pass through the skin of the inner epithelium and then infect the female. The other reason is that it has a larger surface area. So there are many opportunities for the virus to pass through. All right. And then if there is any form of violence, the likelihood that there will be bruises in the female is higher compared to the male. And so the female is going to then be more vulnerable compared to the male. I always joke that it's more blessed to give than to receive, and females are the receiving end. So they always at risk. Okay, now all of these have some social connotations and interaction. When it comes to violence, it's easier for a male to actually perpetrate or visit violence on the female. So gender violence, females are more prone compared to males. When it comes to harassment and all those things, you see it in that direction also. And then the ability of a female to resist is not easy. Okay, so we say rape, for instance, is a high risk. In our definition or in our laws, a female cannot rape a man. That's how the law is. But it's certain that a male will rape a female. All right, and the female is that vulnerable. So any rape act is a high risk for HIV transmission. When it comes to HIV, sexually transmitted infections, I mentioned that there's a strong linkage between that and HIV. If a person has gonorrhea or chlamydia or syphilis, it already mobilizes white cells. So once the virus is there, it will just hop onto the white cells and multiply. STIs in females can be very, very quiet and unnoticed compared to men. You see, men, if they get something, both, it's either maybe a change in vaginal fluid or the color or something and all that. But before they will notice it, compared to a man who have gonorrhea and has pain, it will take some time. So it may be there lacking. They also have white, what we call candidiasis and all that, more easily compared to males. So once they have an STI, the risk of they getting HIV is also high if it's untreated. So there are factors like that which link the biology to the gender, okay, and the social issues. In our culture, we notice that you find even wife inheritance in some cultures, but it's more common in East Africa. There are various circumstances where a female, because of economic conditions, is more dependent on a male, and that is why they will accept anything, money in kind or in any way, and then go to bed with a male. And we see a lot of that happening in the young people of today. These days, you may not find people who say they are involved in commercial sex work, but they are actually involved in transactional sex. So we have people like that, a lot of them in the academic institutions, universities, even the secondary schools. Some of these young girls in some schools by weekend change, put their uniforms aside, they go to town, go and have a nice time. If you take some of the port cities, Takrady and other places, they go onto the ship when these people, captains come and all that. So that is social. Apart from the whole issue of ignorance, where now they believe that even HIV doesn't exist, so they can be free to have unprotected testes. They are more interested in pregnancy. So a lot of them, some of the females who opt for emergency contraception just to prevent pregnancy. But you can prevent pregnancy, but if you didn't use the condom, you cannot prevent HIV. So you get HIV. So that is a trap for some of the young people. The use of substance use and abuse is a factor and more related to the males. If you are intoxicated, it induces what we call disinhibition. The tendency for you to take risk is higher. Is the reason why people say kabichirewasi, alcohol use. Alcohol use among young people, and they get empowered. That's when they rap, when they go to parties.
Tell it like it is.
Yeah, and then they enjoy beyond measure parties, and by the time they realize the following morning they are in bed with somebody and all that. Even if they know how to use barrier methods like condoms, you will end up wearing the condom on your toes instead of the penis because you don't have clear sensorium and you will not wear it well. Okay, right. So substance use, people who use marijuana, it actually causes a lot of what we call induces hallucinations. You develop some strong appetite, violent tendencies sometimes, and the likelihood to take risk is very high. And I've also mentioned that people who inject drugs, and these days we have done a study, there are young people who are injecting drugs and different drugs,
and lots of them
yeah. Now, when it comes to sexual act, you find some of what is happening in some of the institutions. One person with, let's say, 5 men sleeping with one girl, and sometimes all that, fantasies and things like that also increase the risk. And then the men who have sex with men, the population is growing. The population of gays in our country is growing, and most of them in the study we did are young people, and these are recruited in our educational institutions and all that. So our parents and guardians must pay attention to what happens, to these very children. Once they are recruited, it's difficult to come out, because a lot of the people who recruit them pay them, they take care of them. Okay, and some of it is social. They feel, okay, I need money to do a lot of things. There are many attractions. I need to have a phone. I must communicate with other friends. I don't have the money. My parents not give it to me. I just succumb to another person who will give it to me. So the current wave of fast track, getting lovely things, it's also been a predisposing factor. People want nice things. Young people, they want iPhones and things like that. So they fall prey to people who also buy for them, and they take advantage, of them. The cultural issues, we've talked about female genital mutilation, the wanzam in the circumcision. Circumcision has been very beneficial to Ghana. Majority of males are circumcised. But the studies show that the risk of HIV transmission, people who are not circumcised, is higher compared to those who are circumcised. So we have benefited from that. However, circumcision must be done in a healthy way, but we've had situations where people have been contracted HIV from just circumcision, because the person who did it, the wanzam, did not pay attention to the infection prevention practices. Uses this sharp. I told you about the sharps. Uses it on one person and uses it on another person, and that has led to transmission in some children. Female genital mutilation, taking off the clitoris using maybe the same instrument, can have the same effect. So all these child marriages have contributed to some transmission, because you see, we've noticed in the data that a lot of people who were HIV in the past are on treatment, they survive. They are now giving it to the younger generation. Those who died left, but those who are still alive and are living as if there's no more an issue. Yes, and they will not disclose it to people.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, so that all of that is contributing to the transmission.
It's not because they don't know about it that they are not disclosing it.
Those who know, some of them know.
Okay.
Some don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
But there are quite a number of people who know.
Okay.
And very either deliberately or carelessly, because of the stigma.
Yeah.
They will not tell the other person, because if I tell you I'm HIV, you run away.
They block you.
Right. So people are not disclosing now.
Okay.
So that is very risky, and that is a danger. All these are contributing to transmission. We also noticed that condom utilization has reduced. And because you see, amongst the youth, we talk about abstinence first.
Abstinence,
yes. Because if you think that abstinence is difficult, choose AIDS, and you see how difficult it is to live as an AIDS client or patient. So abstinence is the first. However, there are quite a number of young people who are not able to abstain, and we actually admonish that they use the barrier, because I would prefer to have you HIV negative, and later on, if I'm able to counsel you and talk to you, and you modify your behavior not to have multiple sexual partnerships, it's better. But at least that serves as a barrier, because we're noticing increased numbers of also the unwanted pregnancies or teenage pregnancies, which means that people are not using the barrier.
That's true.
So they need to be taught how to use it correctly, consistently, and then continuously. So all these factors in our country have actually contributed. The economic drivers, people need money, they are dependent, and therefore in various places where cash is abundant, like in the mining areas, even there's a lot of exchange of transactional sex.
Yes.
Yeah, because galamsey and all that.
Yeah,
they make a lot of money and they pay. So the sex workers in our country move to such places. But even apart from the sex workers, there are people within the communities, young people who are dependent,
who are very active.
A lot of people who are not in school. In fact, I think the free SHS has helped us.
Okay.
Because
it
now
sends everybody to school.
And you are engaged.
That's right.
All right. But if you are out of school, like the KIA and some of our others, they are also very vulnerable. So these are some of the factors in our country which is contributing to transmission.
Good. So talking about getting all these people and their experiences, what are some of the ways that we can have an impact on them to get them stop this kind of lifestyle and practice? Is there a way around it?
Okay, so it starts with today. I mean, and other opportunities like this, and they must be routine. From where I sit, I think there's been a general complacency. So we are even negotiating with media organizations to support the campaign, give airtime as part of corporate social responsibility. And that is why I appreciate this opportunity. But beyond that, we need to be more systematic. We have, as of today, integrated some HIV information, prevention education in the educational curriculum of the JHS. And we are hoping to update this because there's new information. We need to change. You remember there was this back and forth about comprehensive sexual education and all these things.
Yes.
So now we need to improve and clarify what is supposed to be in the curriculum, and to be able to let the young people have up-to-date information from the primary level to university level, as far as HIV prevention is concerned. That is one major way that once you have a captive audience in institutions, if you do that, by the time they grow, as they transition from primary to secondary, they will be equipped with information already. Apart from this, we have what we refer to as young adolescent clubs or young groups, some in some schools, but some of them in some communities where young people can go, they get information. We, through collaboration with some civil society organizations like the PPAG, we have what we call the Yenkasa platform, where people can call and ask questions on sexual reproductive health, STI, HIV, and they can get information. We, in addition to this, are doing targeted training. We have a collaboration with the SHEP, School Health Program, to be able to target people in school. And through some civil society organizations, that's NGOs also, to do some community work. But we have to go back to the basics to involve opinion leaders, religious leaders, traditional authorities. We want to see more religious leaders talking about HIV in their pulpits.
That's right.
And through the youth programs, create the opportunity for the young people to understand. Because I've noticed that when it comes to the church, naivety has contributed to transmission. The lady or guy we refer to as a bad boy may have learned how to use the condom. And therefore will protect himself or herself. But the Krife or the supposedly
the clean
innocent ones are not prepared, because don't come and talk about things like this here. So they don't learn. And then, but they are caught somehow sometimes, in a web. And unfortunately for them, they are the people who get pregnant, and then they may get HIV and all that. So we need to go back and make sure that all these opportunities, the church, the community, and everywhere, the message is going on. Last 2 years, when COVID dawned, we launched a social media campaign and try to boost some information on HIV prevention. We have to continue that, because a lot of the young people are subscribing to social media. So we need to channel a lot of the information through that. All these must be complemented with once in a while mass media campaign. And we must change the narrative. In other words, it should not be just about prevention, but we must also encourage people to support people living with HIV. In other words, discontinue or desist from stigma and discrimination. One of the factors responsible for spreading HIV is the stigma and discrimination.
Yeah.
So people are living in denial, though they may have it.
They may have it.
Because they are afraid that if I disclose my status, I will be abandoned. And we see abandonment, we see violence, we've seen people who are thrown out and all that. So how do we minimize that so that people will feel free to come out and be supported with treatment and care, and all of us will be free? Because if there are 2% of the population who are positive, they are few, but it can spread to the 98.
It's true.
And we need to actually face it. We don't have to. At a point during the COVID period, I used to ask people, choose between HIV and COVID. People preferred HIV because they know you not die immediately from HIV. So we've exercised it. I mean, now it's no more a death sentence if you have HIV. All right. So we need to be more supportive of people living with HIV and reduce the stigma, so that people will not feel too bad to disclose, and then they will do the right things. I mean, to be able to prevent transmission to other people, because sometimes the stigma induces anger and rife, and they deliberately go out there to spread it. Yes, because I mean, if you let me feel this way, isolated, then you have to be part of me. I have to join.
We go down together.
So we all go down together. All right. So these are some of the things that we need to do. In addition to the national plans and strategies, we have specific programs for adolescents. To support those who are on treatment, and this is where it's so important to bring the educational institutions like PRESEC or anywhere. We know that in the schools, a lot of them don't have established infirmaries where they are nurses who take care of the children when they are ill. There are a few children who are positive and they are on treatment. Unfortunately for them, because we don't have well-trained maybe nurse or someone, teachers, they are afraid to disclose. In that case, they don't take their medications well, and we lose some of them, sadly. So we have to revisit like the workplace programs, school-based programs for HIV and sexually transmitted infection prevention. So that people first of all will get education.
Very important.
And then we'll see how we can create an enabling environment for those who are positive, so that they are not discriminated against. They'll be free to interact with their colleagues and all that.
That's right.
But I believe their presence can have a positive effect, because I was surprised. There are still some young people who don't believe. They've never seen a person living with HIV. I participated in a program with some young kids in my church, and they were confessing that they didn't really believe. They didn't know that there was anybody living with HIV until they saw and interacted with people like that. So how do we create an enabling environment in the schools? It starts with education of the teachers, and the health workers who work in the health facilities. So there's a school screening program now. You are aware. The Ghana Health Service embarks and undertakes this periodically. And there's a linkage to a nearby health facility. But we think that working with a SHEP program and the NAT and all that institutions, we can have dedicated, unique programs for each of the schools. And then we can also set up clubs so that people benefit from education. And then the awareness, once it's high, they take up the precautionary measures and will minimize the transmission.
That's interesting. Now, in a place like PRESEC, for example, and then in other schools, in fact, there are larger schools than PRESEC all across the country. And the problem that we see is that we have a counseling department, and yet the counselors are very, very few. For example, if you're talking about PRESEC, we are getting to 5,000 students as being on the roll call of PRESEC, but we have just one counselor who is working here. Yes. How is this organization, how is the country going to help them to handle and manage such situations? Talking about education, talking about dealing with infected or students who have been affected and things like that. How do we handle this matter?
So there's a general human resource challenge. I mean,
All right.
inadequacy across, and this is Ghana Education Service. So unless they hire a counselor, then there will be a challenge because we cannot hire for them.
That's right.
What we can do is to build capacity.
No, what I'm saying is that we have the counselors in the schools.
Okay, so
yes,
so that's what
we have school. But I'm looking at the numbers of the counselors.
A few.
They are very, very
few. So what we can do,
of course, they can organize programs.
Exactly.
Yes.
So what we can do is to build capacity.
Okay.
Apart from advocacy, working with the Ghana Commission, we can build. We have the Ghana Education Service. It's a multi-sectoral response. So
yes.
So in working with them, we can advocate for them to maybe increase the number of counselors.
All right.
And it will address other issues, including even mental health and all.
Yes. All kinds of
but
things.
Primarily, what we can do is to build their capacity in such a way that beyond them, we can identify some other leaders within the school environment.
Okay.
So when we talk about leaders, they are teachers. They are house masters prefects. And all that. And they are prefects.
Prefects among the students.
And then you can even have, let's say, ambassadors or maybe HIV focal persons. And teams. And when they are trained along, then they will serve as some kind of peer educators for their colleagues.
Yes.
Then the work is not limited to the counselor alone. The counselor only supervises and coordinates the work that happens. So we can actually come up with a program like that, and we'll support you to be able to implement this. And we'll provide the contact for the education. There are people at national level, at regional level, who can support with continuous education and training for these groups. And we'll match it with the transitions, because students will come in and go out. So anytime we have a new intake, then there's as part of the orientation, we get them hooked onto such a program. And this must be systematic, going forward. That is one of the ways that we can.
Yeah, and let me draw attention to the fact that we are dealing with, if you are talking about young adults, we are dealing with those who have been housed in the school. Those are boarders, and then there are those who are not housed in the school, the day students. And obviously, when you cut across the country, we have more of day students than boarders. In the higher institutions, they have a principle where they say that when you are first year, you are inside. When you go, then you go out, in out, and in out, out, and all those things. Yeah, and then at the secondary level too, we have a big number of day students, because since the government decided to go free education and is supplying them also with 1 meal a day, we realized that we have more intake in the secondary schools. The border numbers have some reduction in a way, of course, because the government is paying both for their stay in the government and the boarding school, and at the same time taking care of their meals, which are 3 times a day for young adults. How do we go about handling these kind of kids? Because of their lifestyle and practice.
Okay, so first of all, at least, despite the fact that they are day students, they are also a captive audience. So
that's right.
Whatever programs we create or craft for the boarders, they can also benefit depending on when they are in school.
Okay.
So by all means, there's a period where they'll be in school and at home. We can work it out in such a way that certain programs, they participate and benefit. But that will be in addition to the general things I talked about.
That we talked about earlier.
Incorporating the education in their curriculum.
Exactly.
It's a routine thing. And then also targeting them on social media, because whether you are a day student or not, they will be going on to there. And if they have the time, because I'm sure those in school are limited. So they rather who are out, then will take advantage. And then also there's another group who will not be in school at all. These are those in the communities and all that. So they are going to be targeted through community interventions, working with the NGOs, so that they reach out to them. And sometimes they target them during festive occasions and debes, because that is usually when the behavior is ripe. When, for instance, during the festivals, a lot of social interaction.
There's so much
and
laxity.
That is when there's that laxity in the rules, and so there's a lot of condom campaign during that period.
It's true.
We support that. And then there ought to be also prevention education also during that period.
Okay.
So all these can contribute significantly to minimizing or regulating or influencing their behavior. I will really encourage the church to work hard, because you see, I sit here, a product of SU and all the things. And if it was not for the fact that we were early on arrested by Jesus Christ, and we lived a particular way, we would have been very vulnerable also.
That's true.
And to a very large extent, it has saved many people, and it will continue to save many people. We stay out of danger. It's easier to project abstinence amongst the children of God, and all what we talk about that. So the church must work very hard. We call ourselves a Christian nation for various reasons, because it's majority, but a religious nation, because if you add the Muslims, then we almost get into 100%.
Yeah.
So why can't we use that channel? And we need to show that up and make sure that the youth have targeted programs within the church setting, in addition to the educational institution. It helps. Our cultural norms and values, there are compromises these days. People respect for traditional authority and all that. What are our real values? We need to go back, visit some of those. All right. So how are we projecting our values? Even before the church came in and all that, there were certain values and norms that we lived up to
practice.
So what is the traditional authority doing now to make sure that we revisit and project those for the youth, so that they avoid things? Because I told you the interaction between substance use and even HIV transmission. If we can target them to disease for some of those, then their vulnerabilities reduce. Now, beyond all of this is the country's development. We need to continue to hope and pray and work hard to develop this country, because once people are getting better, they are getting educated, they're getting well established, they are not vulnerable economically. People cannot buy them and buy sex from them. You will find more organized relationships. We did a study and realized that among females who were attending antenatal care, those who were single had higher prevalence compared to those who were married.
Because they are free.
Yes, those who were cohabiting, they had higher prevalence. So all those factors, are social, and if there's a way that these can be dealt with, it will help us significantly. But beyond all this is to continue the mass media, education
very,
also.
Very important.
And that has to be sustained throughout the year and for the next years to come.
Okay. Yeah, so we still are appealing to our national leaders, wherever and whatever positions they are holding, to uphold the national campaign and education using the media houses more, because it's the media houses who reach out to the masses more in every area. Very, very important.
I want to speak to the young people this way. You see, if it's not easy to have HIV and to live with HIV for life, if you're a young person, compared to an adult, you have to take medications for life continuously. It's not very easy at all. All right. And even though we've made progress in fighting stigma, it is not comfortable for the young people living with HIV. The issues, decisions around marriage, relationship is even a problem, and it's a challenge. Because the questions that keep coming up, I'm HIV, can I have a relationship? Can you have a boyfriend and all? So it's better to prevent. Prevention is better than cure. And as we're speaking now, there is no cure yet still.
That's the most dangerous part of it.
Yes, and taking medications, fine, you can say that maybe. But people who have diabetes and hypertension, they attain a certain age, older age, before they start taking it.
Yes.
But if you are HIV and you have to take medications for life, you can get tired. And today we're noticing that people out of desperation and fatigue are abandoning their medications.
Wow.
And going to prayer camps, prophets who promise them healing
and all that,
and other herbalists, and yet those results are not real.
Not even forthcoming.
And people come down, worse, and then they die. So it's better to prevent. And remember that HIV can curtail your future.
Exactly.
Aspirations and ambitions. There are many people today who are not what or who they are because of HIV disease. Many people today, don't talk about those who are dead. Okay, they are gone. But there are people who are alive, and because of AIDS-related illness, they did not pursue their education. Okay. It has affected their work, occupation.
Exactly.
And they are having to fight
general
back
productivity
and all that. So we all have to have a sense of ownership in the fight, responsibility. Be interested in your future.
That's right.
In life. Don't say that, oh, I'm young, I have choices, and let me do what I like. Recently, I got a feedback. The Eastern region was embarking on a campaign and was advising young people against homosexuality and all that. Gay. And somebody passed the comment that is this not a homophobic something? I said, no. If there's a threat, all right, to your health, we need to draw your attention to it.
Exactly.
And for us, your health is our concern. So if you are ill, we'll take care of you first. But it's our responsibility to let you know that certain behaviors can affect your health and to protect you, from it. So if you keep getting injured from, let's say, walking backwards or sideways, and you come to the hospital, we will advise you not to walk,
backwards
sideways. So, but it's not because we hate you, but we want you to correct it. So
what you are doing wrong.
So the youth should not misinterpret the cautions as we suppressing them or infringing on their rights. It's more difficult to deal with it if you're HIV positive.
Yeah, that's true. Yes. Interesting. And we have this LGBT plus and whatever they wanted to add also coming into the system. I say coming into the system because
it's already in the system.
It's already in the system. Yes, already in the system. And from what you have said so far, it means that those who are practicing is it monosexual things, that is male to male,
homosexual,
male to male and female to female, and the mode of their activities are spreading more. What will you tell the young people of today concerning this LGBT thing?
Okay, so
who are forcing themselves
into it. I think that everybody has a right to live freely and to live healthily. You also have a choice to take risk. But you should remember that any risk that you take, whether out of ignorance or deliberately, will have the same consequence. All right. Now, so some people have elected to deliberately take the risk just because of instant desire. All right, and therefore will be involved in such behaviors. We also are aware that some of them is out of economic vulnerabilities and challenges.
Some of them, yes.
So they are preyed at, and that's why they fall victim. So the adults who are recruiting you, they have had what they want, and they are doing this as something that they've chosen to do. But for you, when you are now developing and evolving, you are even now determining what your life aspirations are and all that. You shouldn't be crippled by consequences of MSM or living gay behavior. Sexual behavior, because it's clear and the data is firm that the risk of contracting HIV with that is higher. Yes. So as I said, in the last survey that we did, it was 18%. And I said that of those who practice compared to those who don't, adult men who don't practice, the risk is 28 times, more. All right. So for young people, I always say that look, we everybody has a choice, but remember that every behavior or action that you take may have implications and consequences.
You dance to the tune of the music you play.
Yes, I could be very religious, and there's no way I can separate, religious issues, from this. And there's been the argument as to whether even this is a biological thing, or this is what is it? How the God creates people. God created male and female and all that. But I believe that everything that you do, you practice, it may start with the thought. Once you put it into action, and it becomes a behavior, it can become a character, and to look normal. All right. So, the earlier you get out of it, the better. All right. So I know people who drive forwards.
Yeah.
If they start screeching backward, you can learn how to be able to maybe do it, but it doesn't mean that naturally that is the best way. Okay. So we have to continue to encourage them, and our attitude to young men who are involved in such relationships is not that of condemnation. We don't want to condemn them. We think that they are vulnerable. We need to help them. We need to rather show love to them, because some of them are trapped in it. They want to even come out.
Yeah.
All right, and we need to offer other solutions like alternative livelihood. It was similar to the female sex worker, young person, who is arguing that it's because she must survive, she's getting involved in that. All right. So how do you provide alternative livelihoods for such people?
Jesus Christ.
We need NGOs. We need churches to be able to focus on such groups and help them out. Some of them need prayer support.
Prayer support. Okay.
Yes, in the schools, and we need to. I remember when we were even in Presec is a male, school. There was somebody. Yes, there were one or two people. Yes, after some. Yeah, there were some people who were involved in that. So it's very old. This is not new.
Well, somebody has said it has been as old as almost creation.
As Adam or something like that.
That is why God could pull down Sodom and Gomorrah.
So we need to continue to make the effort. All right, like we continue to make the effort to reduce errors or transgressions or things that are not useful to us in life. We have to continue to throw light on some of these issues and help people to adopt more healthy and helpful behaviors which will contribute overall to our country. The other issue is its impact on population and growth. All right, so if this becomes very dominant and popular, it will even affect also our fertility rate, and things like that. But as a program, we will continue to assure everybody, irrespective of sexual orientation, that will take care of you, give you all the healthcare service and all that. But it's our responsibility also to provide information on how you can stay off it, and so that you do not continue to risk your life and other people. In the interim, for instance, we have what we call the PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis, which we give to high-risk groups so that you can take a medication before exposure.
Will they have time to do it?
Yes, they take it. Some people are taking it and all that. So that helps. And similarly for female sex workers also. That can help to reduce infection. We continue to talk about condoms amongst them to reduce transmission and all that. So we have the packages of service for them already. But we would prefer that they will not continue to place their lives at more risk. Yes. And we would prefer that new people will not join the cohort. We want to reduce HIV infection. And we're hoping that by 2030 we should end the AIDS epidemic. In other words, we should say that HIV is no more of public health importance. But that cannot happen if we don't prevent new infections. Every year we're doing around 19,000 new infections.
Wow, 19,000.
Yeah, and there is a big cohort. So this year, January to June, we were able to identified about almost 24,000 positives.
What?
And this is, we're likely to double by the end of this year. Okay, so transmission is occurring, and we cannot continue to let it occur. Then people are put on medications when we don't have a cure yet. because you get tired, and people are getting tired and not adhering, and all that is going to worsen our efforts and epidemic. So it's better to prevent, and that is why this afternoon session is very key to parents and to their young people. The other issue is about parents and their youth. Some of them are positive, and they give it to their children.
That's true.
But they've not disclosed to the children their status. But they've encouraged them to start medication.
We'll come to parents and their children, yes.
All right.
I want us to take a little break. And this is Ɔdadeɛ Radio, talking about AIDS and HIV and how it's affecting our younger generation, and also to give them some information, because this generation hasn't learned much. So when we come back from break, we'll continue and look at the issue of parents and their children.
Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Like us on Facebook at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. You can WhatsApp or call us on 0200 092925.
What does the Bible say? And what sort of light does it throw on any life-related issue? John chapter 1 verse 5 states, "And the light shineth in darkness, and darkness comprehended it not." Light for Life is a Christian panel discussion program on all life-related issues and how the Bible helps us in its day-to-day application. Beloved, my name is Reverend Gordon Kwashi, and I invite you to join me and my guests on the Light for Life program on Ɔdadeɛ Radio Online this and every Sunday from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. I trust that as we engage in this Light for Life program, we'll all be able to say to our God, "In thy light we shall see light." God richly bless you as you tune in.
I don't know what I would do without him. Whom shall I fear?
Agriculture plays a crucial role to our country's development, with a huge contribution to Ghana's GDP, whilst providing for our food needs at the same time.
They should know that agric is the backbone of every country. Honestly, you began by giving us the percentages, but it used to be 70% that agric contributes to the economy. It's because of certain lapses that has made a figure decline.
I don't know why they see farming as a bad occupation, because in other developed countries, they take agric very seriously and they make a lot of money out of farming. They use a lot of modern technology to improve their yield, but over here we only see it as the use of certain man-made or small implements such as cutlass and hoe, which don't really do much. If you want to go into mass production, which will bring you a lot of money, you use a lot of modern technology that will help improve the yield.
Time to put the spotlight on agriculture value chain in Ghana on Agric Panorama on Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Agric Panorama is a radio program that is aimed at creating a unique platform for all farmers, traders, processors, transporters, wholesalers, and all other actors within the agric value chain. Agric experts, policymakers, students in agriculture, and other stakeholders as they participate in a panel discussion to unravel all that matters to improve agriculture and agribusiness sector, which is the backbone of Ghana's economy.
It's beneficial to the country in the sense that renowned companies in this country, the products these companies bring out are from agric, or the raw products are from agric, which has been processed into finished goods.
With agric, as I was coming, I wanted to do biology, but my grandfather was the person who told me that, why don't you try agriculture? Because I'm a farmer, and look at where I am. So you can also try agriculture, and then you can see how far you go.
Starting from Saturday, 1st October 2022 at 10 o'clock a.m. GMT, Agric Panorama will be broadcast live from the studios of Ɔdadeɛ Radio Online every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. You can listen and contribute to this program via the Zeno FM radio app or Ɔdadeɛ Radio app from the Google Play Store or App Store. Also watch it live on YouTube or Facebook at Ɔdadeɛ Radio or Ɔdadeɛ Radio Ghana. Ɔdadeɛ Radio, shine the light.
Make it a better place for you and
Ɔdadeɛ Health Matters is a radio program designed to address various health-related issues as we go through our daily lives. As the saying goes, do take care of your body. It is the only place you have to live. Join us and our team of Ɔdadeɛ medical professionals as we address various health matters that affect you and the people you care about. My name is Dr. Samuel Nyama. I will be your host on Ɔdadeɛ Health Matters, along with my co-host, Dr. Awuni, live on Ɔdadeɛ Radio Online, this and every Wednesday from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Do join us.
The Education Standpoint is a radio program only on Ɔdadeɛ Radio. The program intends to bring together all stakeholders in the education spectrum of the Presbyterian Boys Secondary School to a live studio discussion on all the topical issues in education and help put to proper perspective the views from standpoint of all stakeholders. The Education Standpoint will also help guide the school and create a better understanding for administration, students, teachers, parents, the church, and the alumni. Tune in to Education Standpoint exclusively on Ɔdadeɛ Radio Online, Thursdays 2 to 4 p.m. and a repeat broadcast on Saturdays at 9 a.m. I am Reverend Emmanuel Ambrose Asamoah, an Ɔdadeɛ former teacher, former student, educationist, counselor, and will be your host on the Education Standpoint. Please do make a date with me.
Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Like us on Facebook at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. You can WhatsApp or call us on 0200 092925.
Yeah. Radio, and we thank you for listening to us as we go through this program this afternoon, and we thank you for being on us through Zeno FM radio, and tell your friends, tell your loved ones also that they may also download the app from Google Play Store and then the App Store. We are live on Ɔdadeɛ Radio on Facebook, also on Ɔdadeɛ Radio Ghana, and we are inviting everyone to be with us. We are also live on Instagram and Twitter at Ɔdadeɛ Radio, and then we say that you may send us your comments and your questions on WhatsApp lines. WhatsApp line 020 0092925, 02000 92925, or you can send us a text message on studio phone 0302 551 014. Please join us wherever you are and send in your questions and comments. And as we also go ahead to discuss the issues today, we have in our studio Ɔdadeɛ Dr. Stephen Aisi Ado, who is the manager of the government AIDS projects that is handling these issues across the country and everywhere, going beyond. And today with us in our home, that is in our Ɔdadeɛ radio station. Wherever you are, be a part of us and tell somebody to be part of us. Tell somebody to tell somebody to tell somebody that they should download Ɔdadeɛ Radio so that they can also participate in what we are doing. We're talking about education, specifically education in the area of HIV and AIDS acquisition or spread. And we are talking about how we are dealing with our younger generation, young adults, and then those who are in school, and those who are not in school on the streets, who are loose on the streets, and they are carrying these things. Now we know also, we got to know that we have an issue with parents transmitting this thing to our younger generation. And so there are many of our target groups that we are discussing this afternoon, whom we are discussing this thing this afternoon, who may carry the virus around and they may not even know it. Dr. Isiado, can you tell us more about this area?
Right. So first of all, the parents have a big responsibility. I currently am handling a case, I'm aware of a case where a mother introduced an adult male to her daughter. I mean, for a relationship, because of course this man was well-to-do, relatively. And a nurse is aware now. In fact, the lady got tested and the lady is positive. Now the nurse is not sure what to do, cannot tell the mother and all that. There are various guidelines for disclosure to third parties and things like that. All right. So this is a case of a mother unknowingly pushing daughter into such danger, and it is economic.
That's serious.
So our responsibilities as parents, we have a big responsibility, irrespective of how hungry you are and how needy and all that. We must be very careful the way we handle matters of relationship, pushing our daughters and all that. We must pay attention to their needs. We must have a discussion with them. Sexual education must start early.
That's right.
And it must include HIV prevention. I mean, pretending that your children are not involved in unprotected sex is, excuse me to say, some form of naivety. They are. A lot of young people in school are involved in unprotected sex. So you have not seen them. They come, they appear very good and nice to you, everything. They will never let you know, but they are involved. So we need to start the conversation with them. Otherwise, you have a bigger difficulty of having to disclose the status of a child, to that child. And we have cases where mothers have withheld, the status of their babies till 22 years.
Wow.
All right. Their mother, they were positive, and they gave it to their children through vertical transmission. And they enrolled the children on treatment. But the children, though they take the medication, they didn't know why they were taking it.
Wow.
And they've grown so much. And
they are still taking it.
They were taking it. And it was when they got to know. In fact, when they were taking the medication, they were fine.
Okay.
And then when they got to know they were HIV positive, now psychologically they started feeling ill.
Going down.
Yeah. Let's avoid all that. So it starts with the mother. In the strategy, we're saying that primary prevention is key. All females in reproductive age group must be targeted with prevention education. Be careful about having risky sexual behavior, so that when you even get pregnant, you will not give it to your baby. But it starts with you. Be negative first.
That's
Secondly, pay attention to your children. Start a conversation with them. In all your interactions with them, discuss also sexual and reproductive health issues, including HIV, with them. It's better to prevent it than for them to surprise you with a positive status.
We have brought it.
It's more difficult. That you can't do anything about it. All right. So that's the next. The next issue is that this one is a moral issue for men who are positive, and they will do it. In the laws, if you are found to have deliberately passed on HIV to someone, you will be penalized. The law will take advantage. Yeah. But proving that is not easy. We've had cases where people come around and say, we know this person, the way he's behaving, he may be spreading to the young people in the community and all that. But, it's not so easy to go and prove it in court.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a moral issue, and moral issues are dealt with morally, generally, with general education, and church and all those things. All right. So, the only thing is that for people who may not be aware, they must try as much as possible to prevent deliberate transmission. It's called willful transmission. Because if you are caught, the law will deal with you. And we have to let you know, because the law will deal with you very brutally.
Interesting.
Because you'll be placing somebody at risk.
At risk.
Yeah. So for parents, you have a responsibility to prevent your children. If they are positive, also you need to disclose, because maybe you gave it to the child through vertical transmission early. And you also have to support. Now, when it comes to support, there are children today who are orphaned, and they are taken care of by aunties or uncles and all that.
strangers.
So I appeal. It is a special appeal to those who find themselves in this situation to be supportive of such orphans, either a half orphan or a full orphan living with HIV. Because usually the care diminishes when their parents go away, they die.
Oh, okay.
Prematurely, yeah.
Okay.
So, but such children need help and they need support.
A lot of help.
Yeah. The schools, how can the teachers must be sensitive? Or they must be sensitive.
Well, the teachers are afraid of
They are
AIDS.
afraid because they don't know. But they are teachers living with HIV.
That's the other side of it.
They are teachers living with HIV, and we are available as a program to help you overcome your fears and barriers to HIV, so that you can be an ambassador and a caregiver. So, working with the school health program and all that, we are willing to build the capacity of or train teachers and all that, so they can handle children in school, whether they are HIV positive or not, supporting prevention activities and also supporting those who must be on care. Because sometimes they have to go for reviews. They need to get an exit.
Yes.
If you don't understand why they are coming frequently for an exit, you'll be questioning and all kinds of things. Sometimes we arrange to provide them with treatment, give them enough to last for 6 months.
Oh, okay. So they
so
don't
that they don't frequently come for exits and all that. These are some of the ways. But I tell you, a lot of them are hiding medications in broken down vehicles.
Yeah.
And all that. And it's just because the environment is not supporting.
It's not supporting.
Now, if you're a young person also, I'm encouraging you not to stigmatize a colleague who is HIV positive. You need to support. Thank God that saying that you are negative. But remember that those who are positive today were negative some time ago.
Some time ago. Yeah.
And even you are not fully, foolproof, because you are not immune, because as long as you live, and you are likely to also embark on maybe a risky behavior later, you can get. So put yourself in the shoes of those who are HIV positive and do not deny them the comfort. Do not stigmatize, against them, and all of these will help us. We have to have a discussion about condoms.
Okay.
Reverend.
Okay.
In our schools, we get a pushback that the PTAs think that if we come and talk about condom use and all that, we are promoting sexual behavior. Now, those who are involved in sexual behavior, it is not us who are pushing. In fact, they're already
doing it.
So ours is, how do you intervene whilst they are embarking on it, whilst we are not there? They must be equipped. Well, some of them also, generally, are caught in a web when they were not prepared. But at least if they knew, they were equipped, they were resourced,
that's right,
they could mount up the barrier. I mean, whether you use condom or not, and we say it is wrong, but one is without an infection, and the other will be with infection. What do we prefer? So there are different levels of the intervention. So they should not misconstrue the promotion or use of condoms in educational institutions as a promotion of risky sexual behavior. When we were in school, there were people who were smoking weed and people who were doing a lot of things. But
all over the place.
Yeah, that people necessarily did not join. Just because they knew about it. It's like saying that if we talk about contraception, we're teaching people to get pregnant. If we are talking about desisting from smoking, it's like talking about preaching no smoking. In schools, we are encouraging children to smoke. No, we are rather telling them that if you smoke, it's dangerous, you have lung disease, you have cancer.
Expecting that you are already involved. And that is why we are coming.
That is the position of public health. And public health is preventive. We want to make sure that we prevent you from suffering the outcome. But we need to let you know, if you are not aware. In fact, one of the major causes of transmission is ignorance. No, we had a community program. Some people said you get HIV when a man is having sex with a woman and the woman coughs into the face of the man, not the sexual act. You can get HIV and STI when you urinate behind somebody's house without permission. HIV can be gotten on a tree. It's a spiritual attack. You can get it. Somebody can infect you spiritually. Some people, believe, the beliefs around it, can be dangerous. That itself, can let somebody get HIV. Like people believe today that it doesn't even exist again.
Yeah,
it means that they can do whatever they like.
Simple belief.
So let's have a discourse. Let's see how we can still let you understand, parents and teachers and all that. That look, this is the education. It's just to arm them. It's to prevent them. It's to teach. It doesn't mean go and use it.
That's true.
If I say that a knife will cut you,
if you play with it,
if you play with it, doesn't mean go and use the knife. And these children, they know they are left from their right.
Exactly.
Some of them
so knowledgeable.
Yeah, so knowledgeable. They've read things, and some of them, there are ideas like if you don't have sex, you become Jimmy in quotes. There are things like that. That if you are a young person and you're not having sex, you are dull and you are all kinds of things. We need to deal with those things, and because of that, they are driven to do things. We have to engage them. And we shouldn't wait till they get to SHS and university. Now, a lot of them have graduated in the university and they have involved in quotes, even female sex work, commercial work, indirectly. People call it hookup and all those things. They've built it, they've developed it.
Wow.
But if perhaps we targeted them with information earlier,
they would have abstained.
Some of them.
Yes. Thank you very, very much. It's very, very interesting how people think about issues like this. And some people have already made up their minds. No, I don't believe in it. Or it's no more there. Or I want to see it with my eyes. I remember there was a time when some students caused trouble around here. They went to hire a vehicle and they were traveling outside Accra. And then they had an accident. And I told the parents that I think that you should take your children to a morgue to see where they would have landed if it hadn't been for the grace of God on them. Some of them got angry with me. Why should they take their children to the morgue? But the idea is this is where they were going to head for in any case. So it wasn't like I'm going to scare them, I want to scare them or something. And when they go there and see, they'll come and tell their friends. The idea is not to scare them. The idea is to correct their lifestyle. The idea is to prevent them from entering into those places prematurely. Everybody will go through that place anyway. Yeah, but it's very, very important for us to know that this education thing we are doing is supposed to help the students and the young adults to get prevented from the place. And then those parents also who have been secretly infected and have passed on to their children also to know that it was their fault. And if it was their fault, we need to change our lifestyle so we don't get inside this kind of thing anymore.
Not to cut you.
Go ahead.
Accepting responsibility is a major factor here. Because a lot of people are in denial. And some of them have tested and they are retesting, multiple testing, because they are living in denial.
They don't believe it.
Exactly.
Or they are telling themselves it's not true.
They're playing the ostrich. All right. And we had sessions where somebody said, God, Nyamia or the man on one of the I said, which Nyami is that? when you were engaging in that,
you didn't call Nyami.
Why didn't you? Yeah. So there are quite a number of people who are living denial, but it's also because of the stigma. So people feel that, hey, we used to say that people who are HIV are immoral, they are promiscuous and all that. I tell you, they are innocent children and people living with HIV. And this mock analysis that you came up with, I think we can do it in a more, in a less, abrasive way. Now, for instance, we have persons or young people living with HIV. I told you some children today or young people don't believe they are HIV people.
Okay.
There are 350,000 of them in Ghana.
Serious.
All right, in total.
Yes.
And they are our brothers, sisters, friends, and all that. Beyond today's program, we have to have a program with the students.
The students.
A session where I'll bring young people living with HIV. I tell you, they have overcome stigma. They are confident. Look, and they will come and speak to them.
All right.
And when they speak to them, they will believe that indeed it's true. These are my medication, I'm taking it. So that they will know that we're not just telling a story. In fact, recently when I published data on the number of positives we identified, people were asking, why is it because you didn't have money? You want people to pay attention to you because you don't have money? I said, no, this is routine. All right. So it is very real. But and I had a few friends also calling and say, oh, stop. I got messages from you through my wife that go and tell him to stop scaring us and things like that. You know, I'm not scaring anyone.
Naturally, you get some information like that.
Yeah.
Comments like that coming.
Exactly. So playing the ostrich will not change anything. But I think it's better we face it together.
We have to face it.
And I think it's a blessing to even know early. So there are a few people who are shying away from testing because of their behavior. I think it's better to know your status. Because if you know your status, we can give you treatment now. And you'll be fine.
All right.
But if you continue to walk in ignorance is bliss.
And
but it's very dangerous, and you are falling gradually. Yes. So we all have to cooperate. We need to work together. You know, as individuals, as groups, you know, as institutions, as the general public, the community, and see how we can work at this and to minimize. I believe that if we work hard, we should be able to reduce break transmission. We can reduce it. Because if you look at the trends,
pleasing news.
Despite the challenges, we've had a decline over a period. But it's a longer period than we wanted.
That's right.
We want to see a sharper decline in transmission. Those who are already positive, we have treatment for them. They will live, they will survive, and then they will exit from other causes, age-related causes. That is okay. I mean, but we don't have to bring in more people, new infections, and that one takes you and I to take up the fight, join the campaign, and join the national program as we do this together.
Final year students are just going home after completing their education, as a secondary school education, and how can they get themselves ready to meet this danger in the universities if they haven't got themselves involved already?
So ideally there ought to have been a program to provide. I don't know whether there is an orientation in exit when they are going finish school.
Not really.
We can begin to look at some of these as a systematic way of preparing them to go out there. And it will not be limited to HIV, because there are other social issues which reinforce HIV transmission. So as we speak now, some of them who just finished school, I will not be surprised that some of them are already pregnant. And some the females, and some of them maybe even must have had HIV because there is a sudden freedom.
Exactly.
And how do you manage that freedom? And before you go to the university, we should let you know that, look, you just finished exams. You've not achieved much.
That's right.
You finished, but there is a bigger opportunity ahead for you. Preserve yourself so that you can go to the next stage and become what you want to be. So I think it to start with the schools. Maybe you have what you have said draws my attention to the need for some orientation before they exit. Usually when they come in first year, there's I'm sure some orientation
how
for
to
them
fit into the system.
But I think once they are going out, there ought to also be some exit orientation for them. And we can draw their attention to some of these important things so that when they go, first of all, they are responsible, because parents may be busy, they may not be paying attention to them. Now they are freer, they have access all of a sudden to the phones. You were denied that in school, so you go onto the net, you are learning a lot of things, you are picking a lot of things.
All their freedom out there.
So they may move to the extreme end, and this is one thing, intervention that we can embark upon. But in addition, we'll meet them. As we are meeting them now, we'll meet them, the general public, with HIV prevention.
Definitely.
And hopefully through some of the clubs, the youth clubs, and the church, we should be able to also, reach them with prevention education. So all these can help. There are NGOs who are also working in the universities, and we support them to embark on general screening, periodic screening. and
Okay.
they take advantage and give prevention education,
Education.
to these students. So that is also one opportunity. We encourage the church to offer premarital education and screening like they do for sickle cell.
That's right.
And other things.
Okay.
But we don't encourage them to use it, the outcome, as a condition to decide whether they will bless anybody's marriage. No, because the opportunity to screen only offers the people that advantage to know their status, so that in case they were not aware, they know one person may be positive, the person is put on treatment to protect the other person.
That's right.
But it should not be a condition for marriage blessing. Yes, because I've had cases where pastors are denying people.
Yeah, because
they are, one is positive, one is negative.
During the premarital counseling
and all that, they
we ask them
request.
to go and check. Yes.
Yeah. So the young people coming up is good. I mean, even if you were screening to know your status even before you marry, it's fine. But if you get to know just before marriage, during premarital counseling, even you are positive. I believe love is bigger. I've cases of people who are serodiscordant. In other words, one is positive, one is negative.
Okay.
We supported them. They have married. They have
I
kids,
see.
more than one, and they are well. The children are negative and all that. So I'm bringing this up because this is the only opportunity I have for now. The pastors have a role to play.
Exactly.
Because they are invariably blessing such young people. They are young. Some of those who just graduated marrying. It's possible.
Yeah, a lot of them could marry.
And we need to take advantage to make sure we help them and all that. So, in addition to all of these, can we engage them between now and when they go to university? What healthful or healthy or useful or resourceful activities can they be encouraged to, participate in? Instead of sitting idle
at home and doing nothing, getting tempted.
Can they learn computing? Can they learn something that they are not aware? Cooking, or some people prepare home a few things, that they are not used to. Can they learn a trade? Can they even learn a vocation?
Yeah.
Right. Can they embark on a vacation, something, Bible,
something
to keep them busy, because being
so that
idle,
they don't get distracted.
Yes. Can they learn? Some of them now have attained the age of adulthood. Can they learn driving and things like that? I mean, something to engage them, because the devil finds work for the idle
hands. Yes.
And vacuum. Nature avoids vacuum.
That's true. That's true. Well, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters out there, we'll say a very, very big thank you to us. We didn't receive your comments and questions as we had a program, but let them trickle in. We'll take them up and deal with them even after the program. We'll receive them in the studios and then give them answers as and when they arrive, whatever your questions are. But we want to say a very, very big thank you to Ɔdadeɛ, Dr. Stephen Aisiado, for joining us in the studio today to discuss this very important subject matter, and looking at education and our students and their involvement in this kind of thing, where they need to be educated. This generation of young adults have had almost a silent period so far as AIDS education is concerned, and that is why we've brought this to the attention this afternoon. Thank you very, very, very much there, and thank you very, very much to Johnny, who has been our producer, and then also Edifico from the other side of town. Thank you also to our studio technicians, Joe, DJ Use, and his partner who is out there also. Thank you very, very much. And until again next week when we meet, this is Reverend Emmanuel Ambrose Asamoah saying goodbye to you, and we'll see you again. God bless you.